differently. How one area seems to be really starting to get going, and a couple others just haven't hasn't happened quite yet, but it's coming soon, I guess.
So Harry, let's get a little background on a business broker, and what is your role in helping someone start up their business?
It's a great question. Everybody understands the role of a real estate broker, but it's the same thing. You have a business, and I broker the business. I represent typically the owner of a privately held business, and basically it's usually a first-time sell, and so there's an educational component, but the major characteristic is confidentiality, because nobody wants it known that they are selling their business unless it's a going out of business sale. It's a very complex process, so the educational component is very critical, and there's negotiations and appraising goodwill, which are intangible assets, is a fairly complex process that requires special training that I've received.
Great. Eric, you're an attorney. You specialize in patents and trademarks and helping people on the internet. I like to, from reading about you and talking with you, you're kind of an internet pioneer and an internet entrepreneur as well. And this, if we have this marvelous idea, have this marvelous concept, is there some steps you would recommend before choosing, getting started, before even choosing the name of the company?
Well, that's a good question, because in the internet age, it's as important to choose a good name for your company as it is to choose a good domain name. So we counsel our clients to not have one without the other. They're really inseparable. So we work very hard to try to get people away from choosing names that might be more descriptive of what they're doing to more creative names that they'll be able to lock down, both from a trademark perspective and from a domain name perspective.
So Carrie, when you're consulting with a person and they have an idea to start a new business, where do you recommend that they actually starting the new business?
It's so easy to leap into the doing part, and I encourage people to back up a little bit and decide on what their goal and their mission is, and then look at who are they trying to serve as a marketplace. Because if you don't have an idea of who you're trying to serve, then it gets very difficult to be able to have a success in the marketplace, because you might have a great widget, but nobody wants it. So you need to back up, and it needs to be something that you're so passionate about that nothing is going to derail you, whether you can't get the domain name or you can't get the funding. You've got the passion that you'll make it happen anyway. You need to start with a clear mission and goal.
Hey Harry, you said in your first statement about that that a business broker is similar to, does some things similar to what a real estate broker, or you made some kind of reference to that. How is a business broker different from a real estate broker?
The difference is confidentiality. First thing a good real estate broker does is put that sign on the yard or on the storefront, and that's the last thing that we do. Mm-hmm. Although I've learned, if you don't have time, because it does take time to sell, you use the sign, but that's usually verboten. It's usually if you go to a multiple listing system for, in a real estate MLS system, there's a picture of the business, the name of the business, and usually that's deaf. Mm-hmm. Competition scares the employees and vendors, and it's not a good thing to keep the value of the business. So confidentiality is the key difference.
Cool.
Okay. Well, characteristics that how do you choose a good domain name for your business?
Well, I suggested earlier that it needs to not be descriptive. If you have a bookstore that you're starting, it's a bad idea to try to call it Bob's Bookstore, only because it's very hard to make yourself stand out as Bob's Bookstore, and for descriptive names you can't really get federal protection for them. On the other hand, if you choose a name that has really nothing to do with what your business is, Apple is a good example. Apples have nothing inherently to do with computers. Then that's a very strong trademark for that company. And it will by getting the trademark, it will help you with the inevitable trademark disputes that arise, especially for domain names, because for every 5-letter domain name, there's about 100 possible misspellings of that. And if you have a very popular brand, or even a not so popular brand, those domain names are going to be registered by cyber squatters. So the choice is, do you want to prevent the problem and defensively register those trademarks now, or do you want to spend $5,000 to $10,000 to resolve one dispute when they get registered by somebody else? Because they will be registered. So we preach that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and that's about the right ratio.
So you have, Carrie, we have, we've got Harry helping us buy our business. We got Eric helping us get a name and a domain name. Now, what would your approach be, taking it a step further, of for starting up a business entity?
Well, I'm coming from the perspective of all the things that you need to do as a blueprint, and you need to start with, as I said, with your mission and your vision and your goals. But then you need to work out your planning first before you do any of these tactics. You need to plan out all of the steps. Then you need to know who you're taking on your team and what kind of a team you're going to have, so that you're working on the business, not just immediately in the business. So it's not immediately getting busy writing up that contract, but it's flushing out all the other implications are that are going to go into that contract, so that it's even stronger. If you're talking about what you do, a lot of it is reaching out to, as fast as you can, beyond your personal network, to both for connections and for clients. Get away from family and friends as fast as you can, because they limit you. They're a great safe place to start, but you're not going to be able to make a livelihood off of them. Or don't start with your domain name. Do start with building up what your marketing plan is and who you're going after, so that when you go after that domain name, you haven't had to go through 3 and 4 iterations to get to the best one for your business. Things like that.
It's great advice.
All right, so let's take